In the world of Thomas the Tank Engine, each story takes us through many perspectives, from big mainline express engines to small shunters in the yards, and even smaller engines like the ones on the Skarloey Railway. If you've seen any videos on this channel, you'll know that I believe that the intent of Reverend Wilbert Awdry, the creator of Thomas the Tank Engine, was to ask the question, what if real-life engines could talk and feel? What is the real steam locomotive experience? One aspect of an engine's life that is often talked about in these stories is that engines come and go from railway to railway throughout their lives. And one character who I believe showcases that best for our purposes is none other than Sir Handel, or as he used to be known on his first railway, Falcon. In this video, I want to take a dive into this subject through the lens of one engine in order to discuss the impact of displacement on Sir Handel and us as people. If you don't know Sir Handel's story already, and somehow made it here, I congratulate you. Here's a brief synopsis. In the early years of Sodor, there was once a railway called the Mid-Sodor, and on it lived 3 little engines, Duke, Stuart, and Falcon. They were all pretty happy and silly and had good times until business went down and the railway had to close. In order to keep the company afloat, the owners decided to sell the engines, Stuart and Falcon getting sold for a low price to the aluminum works. Stuart and Falcon getting sold for a low price to the aluminium company, and then the Skarloey soon after. Unfortunately, Duke was not so lucky and was tucked away in a shed until years later. When Stuart and Falcon came to the Skarloey, they were repainted and renamed. Stuart now Peter Sam, and Falcon now Sir Handel. Following this, Sir Handel was very difficult with everyone and everything. Insulting Skarloey when first getting there, being difficult with the coaches, and being difficult with the trucks. This man was everybody's op. In the books, this all came to a head when Sir Handel faced George the steamroller and things went south. Sir Handel more or less learned some humility for the time being. We will definitely go more in depth about all this, but I want to examine Sir Handel's story through a lens I haven't seen anyone else take yet. That being one of displacement and trauma. And if you've watched all of my Thomas stuff till this point and are thinking, geez, isn't there anyone on this island that doesn't have trauma? You'd be right in thinking that. By the way, the answer is probably Duke, because this guy got put in a shed for several years, woke up to somebody falling on top of him, and started going off about vandalism. Not shaken. This guy was not shaken at all. Anyways, I think Sir Handel's story is an interesting one because while displacement, or moving if we want to think about it like that, is not a unique experience for engines including the main cast, such as Toby leaving his old line, Donald and Douglas, Oliver literally escaping to Sodor to not be scrapped. I think Sir Handel offers a unique lens because of who he is as a character. So what do I mean? With all the characters I just mentioned, they all experienced the anxiety of displacement, not knowing if they'll find a new home, not knowing if they'll see loved ones again, not even knowing if they'll see tomorrow again. It is a very dreadful experience they all had to endure, but they made it to the other side, thankful and happy to be surrounded by a welcoming community. But Sir Handel? Here's the thing that always confused me about Sir Handel. In this world, the engines will usually have a preference for what kind of traffic they pull. Obvious examples are James and Gordon preferring coaches and passengers.
A goods train, a goods train, a goods train, he grumbled.
While other engines like Edward or Toby not really caring either way. Most engines outright despise working with trucks because of how troublesome they are. One standout example being Mike from the small railway, who actually prefers trucks to passengers. All this to say, when Sir Handel came to the Skarloey, he didn't like any of it. He would insult the coaches and call them cattle trucks, and he would bump the trucks so much they planned on crashing into him using the incline. This always confounded me as a kid because if he didn't like either, what would make him happy? Which finally brings me here to what I really want to talk about and what I think explains this behavior in Sir Handel, the impact of displacement. Now, from what I've read, displacement either by natural disasters or through eviction causes great stress and can deeply traumatize individuals. In a paper by Hoke and Boen, results indicated that the experience of eviction represents a significant stressor that is associated with declines in mental health and self-reported health outcomes as young people age. Although the Midsoder's closure is not exactly the same as eviction or a natural disaster, we can view Sir Handel's lack of choice in the matter similarly disparaging. This is why the uproar Sir Handel causes over the coaches is so important. While it might seem petty and vain, which it is, it can also reflect deeper problems Sir Handel has with his new home. As he says,
"Those aren't coaches, they're cattle cars." Woo!
I would like to make the case that Sir Handel's belittlement of the coaches here is because of his rather fresh bitterness of having been relocated from home to home. This is made clear by Sir Handel's direct comparison to the coaches he pulled on his old railway, harkening back to the qualia Sir Handel was so fond of on his old home. When discussing the identity of home, Carroll et al. Discuss the importance the decisions one has in making it feel like their own. There is an affectation and bonding which values routine and familiarity. The personal stamp of identity, the privacy and sanctuary of home, and the social relationships built there. These are reflected in the evidence, for example, missing the cracks in the walls and all the imperfections of the home, missing my own bed, and wanting to maintain normal routines of going to work and the school run, seeing friends and relatives, and wanting to stay in the home when it was not really in a habitable condition. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many wheels or how long the coaches are. What matters is that these aren't the ones from back home. So it won't matter if Sir Handel is asked to pull coaches or trucks when he cannot find comfort in an unfamiliar environment. We can see this also in his initial meeting with Skarloey, where he is quick to chastise him and his home. This coincides with McHenry's claim that when deciding on a house where one feels at home, and which one senses an emotional connection to, we respond to the look and the size, the proportions of the rooms and the height of the ceilings. The overall look of the place as we arrive for the first time stimulates memories of homes already stored in our unconscious, inviting us to create a new relationship with it. In this case, Sir Handel is doing everything to highlight the differences in the two railways and portray this new place as less than the Midsoder. Of course, we know there is nothing wrong with the railway in terms of quality, but to Sir Handel, it is easier to create faults in a place that he doesn't want to be. To me, these are clear signs that Sir Handel misses his home, and going from one place to another and immediately put to work has only hurt his chances at properly processing and healing from this experience, leaving him frustrated and bitter towards everyone. In the book The Island of Sodor, Its People, History and Railways, authored by Audrey himself, it is stated that Sir Handel and Peter Sam did not go directly to the Skarloey Railway after they were purchased, and actually worked at the aluminium works for a year. This means Sir Handel was relocated twice in as many years and had to keep working despite the unfortunate circumstances. While the initial trauma of losing his home has certainly had its impact, there are other invisible struggles to grapple with, which makes it all the more difficult for Sir Handel to adjust to his new home, as McHenry would agree that creating one's own home is usually challenging until the original psychic difficulties have been addressed. And if the emotional experience of a therapeutic home can be taken in, it paves the way for new emotional connections and the creation of a secure home in the external world. I would like to put forth that when we meet Sir Handel on the Skarloey Railway, he is still clinging to his past due to unresolved issues. We can classify the negative qualia of his time there as the steady decline of the railway. But hard times came, the mines closed one by one, and the engines had little to do. At last their line was closed and the people came to buy the engines. Watching your home slowly lose its life is painful, but being forced to go on without proper closure just twists the knife. This, however, pales in comparison to actually losing his friend Duke, since he was not purchased along with them, if you'll remember, and to Peter Sam and Sir Handel, seemingly lost forever. Someone who they viewed as their close friend and possibly a father figure. So not only did they lose their home, but an individual who meant so much to them, which I believe gives more reason as to why Sir Handel refuses to do any work, and cannot create new emotional connections with Skarloey or whoever, nor reconcile with this new home upon first arrival. The loss of a home, McHenry says, be it parental or psychotherapeutic, requires the important work of mourning. It is at once a letting go and at the same time a strengthening of the internal home. One has to reformulate one's internal and relational space in order to accommodate the missing moorings. And as we've discussed, Sir Handel never really got a moment to rest after being sold off from the Mid-Sodor. Without that time taken to truly mourn the loss of his previous home and dear friend Duke, he defaults to only worsening his arrogant attitude. He makes life difficult for the other engines in a variety of ways, including intentionally derailing himself on multiple occasions, pretending to be sick, and just being plain rude. On that note, I'd like to make a clarification that, yes, Sir Handel has always been, and still is, conceited and vain. So, how can this be evidence of trauma, if he just is that way, right? Well, while we can look at his attitude during the Mid-Sodor days and clearly see he was arrogant, and that has not changed, we never saw him intentionally sabotage his trains or himself. In Bulldog, the only thing that leads Sir Handel to derail is his own naivete and carelessness, but he is shown to be very sorry afterwards. Knowing this, it is easier to see Sir Handel's later actions as those of rebellion and outbursts rather than mere vanity. This is reflected in lines like, "My controller makes me shunt," which illustrates Sir Handel's victimization, and that he believes what has happened to him is unfair. Lines like this tell us that to him, his controller, and everyone else for that matter, is against him, because they cannot replace his original home. Okay, if you made it this far, thanks. But you might be wondering, well, if Sir Handel is so bad because of losing his home, then what about Peter Sam? To which I would say is a great point. It is odd that despite going through the same situation, these two engines handle it so differently. Looking at Peter Sam, he's ecstatic to have this new home and loves to get back to work. I think this dichotomy reflects a very natural phenomenon in people as well. Some are able to handle hard times better than others, maybe through masking, or maybe because they're just built different. And for Peter Sam, that might be quite literal, as with all the characters in Thomas. So losing a home or job may be more impactful for different reasons, and everyone has different coping mechanisms. For Peter Sam, we can surmise that this new start is a good thing for him. Perhaps he welcomes this security after all the uncertainty of their railway's decline. In McHenry's research, they found that some are constantly searching for a new person or thing, which promises the transformation of the self at a psychic, emotional, and bodily level. It does not offer authentic integration, but a sort of temporary adhesive to glue parts of the self in a way that feels exciting and promising but is ultimately false. When it does not deliver, the prospective transformation or the psyche returns to its former baseline state. The person or thing is discarded and the search starts for something new. Peter Sam echoes the kind of attitude we see in Toby and Oliver and the like when they find new homes on Sodor. Grateful, joyous, and willing to work. It also helps that Peter Sam is evidently a very perky character, so he takes this opportunity in stride. Heck, he sings to the coaches when he pulls them. However, we can see the cracks start to show in the story Duck and Dukes, when Peter Sam is horrified, shattered, upon hearing how all the Dukes have been scrapped. Mind you, in the context of this story, Duck is talking about a different kind of Duke engine, like a class of Dukes. All the like railway buffs will know what I'm talking about. Which tells me that Peter Sam has not fully moved on from his past. This is what's so unique about Sir Handel to me, since he rejects the opportunity to work at this new place and rebels against the environment. The contrast is even more apparent when Sir Handel comments on Peter Sam's attitude.
Anyone would think that he wanted to work.
I find this wording so important because it tells us that he sees Peter Sam's eagerness as insulting. Despite all the difficulties Sir Handel presents, I think one could still make the case that he uses his steamroller wheels to distract himself for a while. He continues to be arrogant, as always, but now he can use this new aspect to feel superior. From this point, we can see Sir Handel start to adjust to his new home in other stories like Home at Last, where Peter Sam gives us information like,
Sir Handel likes Gertrude and Millicent best, Peter Sam went on. He always tries to take them alone. They have bogies. And he says they're the only real coaches we have. They remind him of when he used to pull our express.
He still has a fondness for his past, but Sir Handel has made progress at this point, opting to be more a part of the milieu now. And I think this makes it easier for him to adjust. One aspect that certainly helps to bring Sir Handel into the fold is the relationships that develop around him. Iryna et al. Point out that in order to reduce negative feelings about the loss of a home, psychologists shift the focus of a person's attention to interpersonal relationships. To feel at home is to be among relatives, in the family circle, support each other, share your feelings, thoughts, laugh and cry together. You are with each other. And this is the basis of a sense of security, a sense of home. It is crucial to form meaningful relationships in a new place, and for Sir Handel, despite his seemingly high standards, he comes to respect the thin controller, and Skarloey with time, and shares moments with the rest of the engines with each story. On top of all this, Duke is finally found and is brought to work on the Skarloey with Sir Handel and Peter Sam, and they have a nice little moment where they meet again and are happy to return to their old dynamic. Sir Handel may still be arrogant, and may always be, but at the end of his story, he's able to call this place his home thanks to his old relationships and new. One could argue that realizing a blend between accepting this new environment while maintaining elements of his past helps Sir Handel to truly come to view this place as his home. Additionally, we can confirm these feelings by looking no further than Sir Handel's last story in the Railway series, written by Christopher Awdry, Sir Handel Comes Home, which, if the title doesn't give it away, you can probably tell where this is going. In this story, Sir Handel goes to visit the Talyllyn for an extended visit, but at the end of the day is glad to come back to the place he calls home. See guys, he said it. He said it's its home. It's case closed, guys. It's right there, in the book, in the text. Okay, but seriously, what I take away from this research is that there are many elements involved when losing a home that can leave impacts beyond the physical level. This is something that resonates for me because it has happened to me, and I've had to move several times in my life. That first time was especially hard since it was completely out of my control, which is why I see Sir Handel's situation and see it as one of hardship, because I know how unfair it is to be in that position. Home can be an abstract subject, to be sure, but for many, home is represented in the physical spaces we personalize, and as Iryna et al. Posits, we cannot strive for social recognition, professional self-realization, and self-expression until we have food to eat and a place to live. Having a home satisfies our need for security, creates a sense of confidence in the future, and I believe in understanding the psychological processes of attachment with the home and identity formation through the home, we can accept the spectrum of reactions some have to that stress. And as we've discussed, people imbue their homes with meaning, which makes the loss of one's home even harder, because it means losing a part of your own identity. When writing these stories, Awdry strove to illustrate the full locomotive experience and liken it to that of the human experience. Through Sir Handel and so many engines like him, we find similar experiences like this one that echo those of real life. Naturally, fiction draws on real life in many ways, and so we can see that the lessons we learn from it can reflect our own lives as well. In times like right now, it is important that we value the lives and experiences of those who are being displaced because of things out of their control. And like the Skarloey Railway, we should be extending an olive branch so that we can continue to build our communities. Understanding Sir Handel's predicament and the many other engines who lose their homes in these stories has certainly helped me to deepen my understanding of what that means, and I hope it does the same for you. That is where I'll end this talk for now. But since we're talking about the community, I want to tell you all about why you haven't heard from me in a while. To put it bluntly, I went to Wales this summer, and if you know anything about Thomas and Friends, you'll know that's where Sir Handel's basis comes from, as well as the rest of the Skarloey engines. In fact, the Talyllyn Railway holds a whole weekend celebration for it in the Awdry Extravaganza, which I had the pleasure of attending. It was great. Me and my partner had a great time, and honestly, it was just a dream come true. Like, actually getting to see Sir Handel and Peter Sam and like all the little guys for real, in person, moving in front of me and riding with them. I honestly wouldn't trade it for the world. It was amazing. Funny enough, while making this video, because I've been making this video for a while, the Tallyclin Railway actually remade the story of Sir Handel using the actual Sir Handel. Blows my mind. It's really awesome, so please check it out if you haven't already. It's awesome. It was awesome watching for me because like I just went there, so I was like, oh my god, I recognize all these places, like I was there. Anyways, that's where I'll end it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you waited this long for me to upload, thank you for sticking it out. I really appreciate it. I know it's been a while. I mean, getting ready for that trip and balancing all the other elements of my life at the moment took some time. And I guess I have to say, leave a like, maybe subscribe, 'cause you can do that. I don't know how to end anything, so I'm gonna say goodbye now. Goodbye. I love you.